Good evening. I'm the Fit Lawyer ATL, and we are live. Y'all are not going to believe what happens. I have been talking. Oh my goodness. I have been talking to myself for the last 11 minutes. Well, there we go. Happy New Year, right? It did something. I was like, my computer is saying schedule still, but I hit the live button. What is going on? The chat stopped moving. I was like, y'all, I'm glad I checked. I literally was over here doing my show. Here comes drama. I gave you a shout out. I pulled your comment up. Like, oh my God, that's so lame. I was like, I can't see how many people are in the chat. I think my computer's going slow tonight. My ass wasn't even live. Blooper real. Y'all, I have been live since 9:17. So I thought, well, there we go. Happy New Year. There we go. I see y'all in here now. I was like, oh, the chat's not moving. I was like, man, did I lose the flavor already? Okay, let me start over. Shout out to Gigi is a vibe. She was the first person in the chat tonight. She says, I'm not excited. Happy New Year's, the Fit Lawyer. Happy New Year's to you as well. I'm so glad to see y'all. I'm so glad I realized I was not live yet because I was like, dang, I don't know the algorithm. Like, where everybody at? Nobody's talking. Here comes drama. Shout outs is legit. I'm talking about y'all. I didn't start my whole monologue, but I was in here talking to myself. So I'm so glad I figured it out. Y'all are coming in the room, and I'm so excited. All right, Miss ABC Scorpios. Scorps GA. What is that at the end? GB? Okay, y'all. I got 3 months today because I was like, I got to be able to see because I am at home screen from my laptop, and this laptop screen is too small. So I do have 2 big monitors here. So if y'all see me looking left and right, I am trying to see the chat because your girl is 45 years old. So these eyes are, I can no longer squint to a 2020. I told the doctor last time, like I used to at least be able to squint to 2020. I can't even do that anymore. So we have to have the glasses on and a big ass screen. Like a 32-inch monitor over here. Right, here comes drama. Like, I'm never that late. Even when I do come on late, y'all, I sit right here. But I'm just like, sometimes I like to come into a room that's already, people inside. So, but yeah, I was like, dang, it's so crazy. Like, and I cut over my phone and I'm like, upcoming, like, no, I'm talking. Where am I at? So yes, here I am. I was not late. I was here talking. So look, I guess I just need a practice run of that. So here we go. Okay, um, get you multifocal lenses. Oh no, these are old, these are not, they're called progressives now. So these are not bifocals like back in the day where you can see the circle in the middle. No, but they are progressives. Yes. And so I can see it, but I just need a bigger monitor because this little 17-inch laptop, I don't see how people really work on that. I even have a keyboard that I can't use a little keyboard on the laptop either. But anyway, Happy New Year to everyone, for everyone that is here. We got 42 people in the chat, so I hope I got 42 likes at least. So get the likes up if you did not like on the way in. Go back out and like and come back in. We'll still be here. I'm just getting started. So, alrighty. So, does anyone have any New Year resolutions? I am on second day of my detox because Lori ATL, I do work out and I'm working on losing even more weight. So I am detoxing. So this is day 2. I went to the farmer's market this afternoon to get my meal prep. So be ready for tomorrow to get my back on food. So what about y'all? Does anyone have any New Year resolutions? On. Oh, I know, right? So here comes drama. It's all downstairs. So for my members, I am going to post a video after the live tonight to show y'all how the studio is coming along. I set up my desk. I have like all of my equipment. I got like 3 monitors, monitor stands, I got light stands, lights, I got the camera, I got my cam, what is that thing? Cam Blink. I got the stream deck. I got my rollcaster, so I can start making some sounds. But like y'all, why I'm, like, so ready to, roadcaster. I don't know how to hook it up yet, so I was looking online for a sound, and I kinda found something. Y'all tell me what you think. I don't even know if it's gonna work. No, that's so lame. Anyway, okay, so it might pop up at some point 'cause I'm on my Wi-Fi, so who knows when it's gonna come in. But anyway, I'm working on getting everything set up. I have a few more pieces that are gonna come in, and then I have an engineer that's gonna come over, photographer that's gonna come over and help me get everything set up 'cause, yeah, I don't know anything. Okay, so my English wasn't getting better, right? So I've been practicing in Canva. So, like, it's coming along. We building it as we go, but y'all are here showing mad support. We got 57 in the chat, so I'm so excited. So it's just, it's gonna be a great 2025. So do y'all have any New Year resolutions? Anything y'all are working on? Oh, I see one. Let me go back. Let me go back. Um, Nana, Nana Ross says, I'm gonna pass my NCE state exam to become a counselor. Good for you. So I pray that goes well for you. So kudos. Anyone else working on anything? Yeah, I know I missed y'all. Hey, Just Lee. Shout out to the members in the chat. Shout out to Nick Shea. Just Lee says, hey, here comes from I miss y'all. I know I've been missing y'all. Nick is here. Lisa Snipes got some house. My day ones. I'm so excited that y'all are here. All right, y'all. Any more? No more New Year's resolutions. Arbel, I let me address this comment. So, is it true you're representing Moon? So, I would love to. And I am going to be setting up a meeting with him. If he decides to have me as representation, then I will be. I think it was like dropped a little too soon, which is why I didn't repost it or anything like that, because I cannot imagine how he would feel if we haven't had a conversation yet, or you start hearing that you got a new lawyer, and you're like, who is this shit? So I'm kind of like, hopefully he allows me to work on his case. But yes, I have linked up with the lawyer, happily angry Esquire out of California. So we will be working together. We will be working together, and if he allows us to help him, I think there is definitely something that we can possibly do. So my heart broke when they got sentenced sometime. So hopefully that will be able to come. Let's I'm praying that that works out. Yes. Oh, did I catch the right? No resolutions. McNeil says no resolutions, but I'm doing some purpose planning and goal setting. Good for you, Shakisha. So excited. That's important, right? Write it down, write the vision and make it plain. You have to do that. So that's good for you. I saw another one I wanted to go grab. Mm, 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 mm. Oh, mixed chick. Yes, she was saying she got her TLA class and she is working on getting her channel. Good for you, sis. I'm so excited. Do you already have the channel set up? If so, if you could drop it in the chat, when the mods drop her channel in the chat, so you can go ahead and get some subscribers as you are taking that class. TLA's class is amazing. Like, I just have to put it on and just listen. And I know when I first started it, I was like, I'm gonna sit down and take notes like I'm in school. But yo, it's so much information. I literally just have to let it play as I move around and just take mental notes because it just go back and re-listen because y'all, he teaches you the game on every piece of this. I'm still not through the class because of course, since I was blessed with Blue Channel overnight, it I had to start the beginners and the advanced at the same time. So I'm still trying to catch up. So there we go on that. So thanks y'all for showing up tonight. I want to get into it. So we are here to talk about a Diddy update. Okay. So earlier this week, I was just looking over the Diddy case, looking at the different updates that were on the system and seeing some motions that had been filed, right? And so I wanted to just kind of, see what was going on. So I picked at them, and then today I was like, let me see if there's been an update on these motions, and there was. And so I'm gonna share with you that information, and then I want you all, I'm gonna drop a poll, and then I want you to let me know if you think that the it's a win for him, and if the government is giving him a way out of this case. So a lot of times as defense attorneys, we look for a needle in a haystack. Like, a lot of times when I get cases, they my client may inform me that they did what they are being charged with, or it could be a case where my client is actually caught on video doing what they're charged with, right? So it's a case where the evidence will present like the person is guilty, right? However, the state may have obtained some evidence against the person illegally, and then I can file a motion to suppress that evidence. And if it's the only evidence that they have against the person, then that case would be hey, we worked it on out. All right, so we're back. All right, so what I was saying, as a defense attorney, you look for the needle in a haystack, right? You look for any way to get your client out of things. And so what happened in the Diddy case is it was probably, what was it, October 28th. Y'all know Diddy is in custody. His bond has been denied 3 times. And actually, something I hadn't heard, on December 13th, he actually filed, he had an appeal pending for his bond because he kept getting denied. So he actually filed something to say that he was going to withdraw his request for bond. And so at this point, he has no request for bond pending. And he's basically accepted that he's not going to get bond, it appears. However, I think his attorneys are more so focusing on what we're going to talk about tonight. And so he is in custody at MCD, and there was a raid done by BOP, which is the Board of Prisons, and they did a sweep of the MDC, and this was October 28th, and it actually lasted from October 28th to November 1st. We kind of really weren't focusing on it because that's around the time that one, I got on YouTube, October 28th. And then no, seriously, Thug was taking a plea on the 31st. Quay took a plea. So we were focused on the YSL trial, but they had a raid at the prison. And the government says this raid was done in order to find contraband and for safety reasons, right? That it was something that was already scheduled prior to Diddy getting in custody and it had nothing to do with him. However, there's this person that they are calling in all the paperwork Investigator 1. And Investigator 1 actually, you'll hear, participated in the raid, or I would call it a raid at the MDC, and searched Diddy's cell, as well as interviewed Diddy during this raid. And he, during the raid and search of Diddy's cell, found no contraband. So no drugs, no illegal weapons or anything. Thank you. Here comes drama. I'm glad the sound and everything is great. Thank you, Pretty Black Girl 79, for staying here through the technical difficulties. But yeah, so during this raid, no contraband was found. Okay. However, the investigator felt the need to go back into Diddy's cell and search, and found some legal pads with notes on it that Diddy had written. And he took pictures of these notepads, the legal pads. Now, Diddy's camp says the legal pads had legal on them. The government says otherwise, but this is what the fight is about. The investigator leaves the raid, takes the photographs back, informs the prosecutors that he's gotten these photographs of Diddy's private notes, and they are turned over to the government. The government uses these notes and doesn't inform the defense at all that they have received them from the investigator or that they're using them against him. Sounds shady, right? It sounds very shady. So we're going to get into the motion that was filed by Diddy back in December. And And I just kind of want to go through, show you the background of it, talk about what the legal arguments are, and then I'll brief you on the state's reply and the defense's reply to the state's reply. And then we'll talk about the one-page document that the judge issued today that I feel will lead to some information that could possibly put Diddy in the same position that the defendants were in the Trump case, because along in his motion of requesting this information to be suppressed, he's also requesting that the prosecutors be disqualified from the case, and that the indictment, if information should come out at a hearing that would rise to this, that the indictment should be dismissed. So we're going to talk about it. Is this Diddy's way out? Like, have they gotten too overzealous in the prosecution and mucked the case up? Like, that's happened because we clearly have seen it going on in this YSL trial, right? All right, so shout out to Mixed Chick. Shout out for gifting 5 Fit Lawyer memberships. Thank you, Mixed Chicks. Shout out. Starting the new year out right. I appreciate that, sis. Thank you so much. Mixed Chick is someone that I met in Lee's chat. So I've been seeing her for about a year or so in the chats on YouTube. So thank you so much for coming over and supporting me, sis. And shout out to Here Comes Drama, one of my first moderators. Here Comes Drama gifted 5 Fit Lawyer memberships. Shout out. Thank you so much that you all, whoever received those memberships, please give a thank you in the chat. Be sure to thank them by name. Mixed Chick gave 5 memberships, and so did Here Comes Drama. Thank you. So those 10 members will get to be able to see a behind the scenes look tonight at my YouTube studio once we finish this live. So thank you, ladies, for starting the year off for me. Thank you. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. All right, we got Shakisha McNeil says thank you for her membership. Thank you for giving a shout out to the person who gifted you. Thank you. Nene says thank you for the gift, Mixed Chick. So shout out. Nene got a membership. Thank you so much, Mixed Chick. It's all love. Thank you. The name shall be named. Yes, from Lee's chat. Pretty Black Girl 79. Shout out to you. Thank you for being with me on a Friday night. We got 81 in the chat. Thank you. All right, let's get back into it. So what we're going to go over are the motion that Diddy filed, and I am going to share my screen and pull that up. And I already have the parts that I am going to go over highlighted, so everyone can kind of read along with me. Let me see. Make sure I pull this up right. You know what? You know what? Let me do one thing. Okay. Okay. All right. Can y'all see this? Oh, but you know what? Struggle streaming again. Okay. I need to. Okay, can y'all? Yeah, y'all can y'all see this? I'm gonna make it bigger. See, and this is why I had 3 screens set up. But that's all right. We're gonna work it on out. The more I stream, the faster I will get. So, okay, y'all, I'm not going to be able to do this without fixing. So, I'm going to come back to the sharing. So I'm just going to talk for a second. I got to go in here and fix a setting right quick that will allow me to separate these screens so I can show different things on them. So anyway, let me get back into the case. So Diddy's attorneys were not made aware of the fact that the government had the notes until they got to that last bond motion hearing in November. I don't know if you all recall that hearing, but that is when they found out, when the government actually mentioned it in one of their filings. And that is how they were able to know that they even had these documents and were using them against Diddy. And so from ever since then, they've been fighting against that. And they actually brought it up during his bond motions. And we're going to get into the brief right now. Pull this over to this screen. All right, there we go. I got it. Shout out to y'all. We got 91 in the chat. Please make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. I'm going to share this screen again. I got everything ready. All right. Okay. All right. So Diddy's attorneys December 4th filed a letter stating that they were requesting a hearing. And then they filed, and I'll go to the top so you all can know it's official. This is downloaded directly from the federal website, which is Pacer, that has all the federal cases and all of their court documents and everything. So this is from the United States Southern District of New York versus Sean Combs. So this is a legit document. It's the real deal. If I wish my mouse was working. Okay. All right, so we'll come down to the highlighted portion so we can get started, because the introduction has all the juicy facts in it. So let's go down to the intro so we can get into it. All right, can y'all see this along with me? Yeah, it's pretty big on the screen. Your shirt I'm behind. Oh yeah, Emily, see, I hadn't even actually talked about it, so I keep forgetting. I love this shirt. I'm billing you for this conversation. I love wearing this because it really makes people leave me alone when I'm out. Like, I'll be at the nail shop and somebody over here that I'm attorney, then they like, my cousin locked up, and so it kind of gives people an idea that, right, you are, what I provide is value. So can you book a consult, please? All right, so let's get into this. All right, so introduction. So this starts out giving us a background about what has occurred and why we're here. So it states that Sean Combs faces enormous, you know what? Y'all probably would really appreciate if my mouse was working so that you can see what I'm reading, and we'll make it do it like that. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. So Sean Combs faces enormous challenges in this case, not because of the evidence, but because he must defend himself and prepare for trial from jail. Pretrial custody status is associated with the ultimate outcomes of cases, with released defendants consistently faring better than defendants in detention. You'll notice every time his attorneys file something, they're going to point out the fact that him being in custody is a hindrance to his defense. So this is kind of how they start this out. But if that weren't enough, the government exploited Mr. Combs' detention by engaging in unfair and unconstitutional tactics that have interfered with his ability to work with his attorneys and make it impossible for his attorneys to provide effective assistance of counsel. The evidence shows the government is using Mr. Combs' detention to spy on him and invade his confidential communications with his counsel. Since his arrest, the government has been working with BOP staff, including Investigator 1. And remember Investigator 1, because he is the one who took the photos of the notes. He is the one. We don't know his name, but Investigator 1, he or she, to take advantage of his incarceration by meticulously monitoring all of his communications, including with his attorneys. And during a recent BOP sweep of MDC, Investigator 1 illegally searched Mr. Combs's handwritten notes containing privileged communications and work product. Investigator 1 photographed the notes and then shared them with the prosecutors. Prosecutors claim they did not request this search. They concede Investigator 1 has been investigating Mr. Combs at their direction all along, gathering evidence they have used and hope to use against Mr. Combs. So this is a big issue. So pay attention. They said that Investigator 1 had been investigating Combs all along. And so how he was investigating them, if you all recall early on when they said that Diddy was using other people's PIN codes so that he could make phone calls to witnesses, and they said that he was witness tampering. Well, this Investigator 1 was investigating that. So he was listening to Diddy's phone calls. He was reviewing Diddy's emails, communications. So from the time Diddy has been incarcerated, Investigator 1 has been investigating him. And he turns out to just so happen to be the investigator that shows up at the MDC suite to investigate Diddy's cell. And the government wants us to believe that that just happened chance. Like, come on. Like, we know Diddy's guilty, but come on, you can't play, because when you play games like that, you open the door for his great attorneys to find that needle in a haystack and raise an issue that could possibly get evidence kicked out of the case. So I'm going to go back to the motion, but I just had to point that out. Like, how is he going to be the investigator all alone and then show up to the sweep and it not be connected? Like, come on, we're not buying that. Like, we want him got, but you got to do it right, because what happens when you don't? Stuff comes back on appeal. Like, it's no point. Or you, like the Melly case where it's overturned and now you got to retry the case because they play games, or that was a mistrial, but you know what I mean. So go down. This disturbing conduct is a blatant violation of Mr. Combs's rights. Prosecutors say the search was motivated by security concerns at MDC, but that is a false pretext. The purported purpose of the BOP sweep was to search for contraband, but since when is prison contraband photographed and left in place, right? Because if it was contraband, they would have confiscated it and seized it, but they left it in the cell. So clearly there was nothing wrong with the notes they found, but still they took photos of it during a contraband sweep. That is crazy. That is crazy. All right. And his attorneys say if it were contraband, it would have been seized. That is not what Investigator 1 did here, leading to the inescapable conclusion that this was an intentional, targeted, and illegal search to discover any information that could give prosecutors a leg up against Mr. Combs, including his handwritten privileged notes, a roadmap to his defense. Like, they playing dirty. Like, let me keep reading. I'm going to keep reading before I come back to the comments. That an investigator working with the prosecution team specifically to investigate Mr. Combs in the MDC would use a multi-agency search of the facility as a ruse to surreptitiously spy on Mr. Combs's defense camp is outrageous. No legitimate penological interest motivated this conduct. If the government is seriously contending otherwise, it should call to the stand the lead official from the U.S. Bureau of Prisons or whatever agency was in charge to explain how the unlawful targeted actions that violated an inmate's 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment rights were contemplated by and within the purview of the BOP sweep at MDC. So basically they're asking for the judge to set a hearing so that they can come in and explain themselves. So who is feeling like this investigator going in, taking pictures of the notes may be an issue? I'm going to go to the chat because I saw some people drop some more memberships. So give a shout out to Just Lee. Shout out, gifted a Fit Lawyer membership. Thank you so much, Just Lee. I appreciate that support. And Just Lee hit me with a second gifted Fit Lawyer membership. So if you got one of Just Lee's gifted memberships, please say thank you in the chat. Say thank you. Yes, Shakisha McNeil, is definitely shady behavior. It is, because it's not contraband. So why did you even touch it? And you're going to hear that the notes were actually in his locker. So it wasn't even something that they just saw out in plain view. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah. No, they actually went in his locker, got the notebooks out and posted them. Yes. Here comes dramas. Oh, you're a fit photographer. Shout out. 10K is very close. Yes, we are almost at 10K. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, please go out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you all can get me up. My goal is 10K by the end of January. So we're going to see if it happens. Who is this? Arbel, could this actually end the case before it begins? It could. We're going to get a little bit more into the motion, and then you'll see what they're requesting to happen, and then hear what the judge says the government must do today, which may lead to something else. So, I mean, it really could just be like that slippery slope, like Ashley Merchant's motion in the YSL case, how when it got filed last January, everybody was like, what? Fonnie messing with Nathan. Like, girl, you reaching. And look what all it brought out, right? It brought out the money being an issue, the cash in the house, the fungible stuff, the no receipts, the phone record. So these type of motions can lead to other things. And that's what the judge's order today, I think, is going to lead to other things. It's going to show us that this was all a plan all along, and they just may get thrown off of this case or get it dismissed before it starts. And as a defense attorney and as Diddy's attorneys, this is what you're looking for, right? Because we all know he did it. We all saw him beating Cassie in the hallway and dragging her from the elevator. We all know that. And we have heard Cassie's lawsuit that he paid off in 24 hours. So I believe everything Cassie said in her lawsuit is true. I'm sorry, I believe it. Like when she alleged that he blew up Kid Cudi's car, and then Kid Cudi came out and confirmed that Diddy blew up his car, I'm like, he did everything she said, because what type of person blows up somebody's car? Like, I don't even know how to make that happen. Like, how do you make that happen? What call do you make to blow up somebody's car? That's scary. So whatever somebody said he did, what 50 Cent say that he did that shit. He did it. I promise you he did it. That's how I feel. So I just, his attorneys are just going to be looking for anything that they can find to try to save him. Yeah, okay, Miss 86 Corpus. I'll see you later. Gotta catch it later. I totally understand. It will be here forever. All right, y'all. So let me get back into it. Thank you for the memberships gifting. I really appreciate that. Let me get back to the motion. Y'all blessing me. I had to come give y'all a shout out, but let me get back into the tea. All right, so this is Diddy's motion. So this is his attorneys. The government's illegal actions do not end there, however. Immediately after the search, Investigator 1 debriefed the prosecutors. They had a clear opportunity to remedy the misconduct, but instead they doubled down. The prosecutors knowingly, intentionally, and secretly took possession of the notes and then used them against Mr. Combs. They took the notes without following the agreed upon filter team procedure. And y'all know what a filter team is, right? We learned about that in the YSL trial. Whenever the DA's office or the government's attorneys are going to receive information that could possibly taint them, meaning give them a bias or let them see something they don't need to see, that would give them a conflict, they pass it through a filter team that will filter out the privileged information and then deliver the rest of it to them. So they took the notes without following the agreed upon filter team procedure that is supposed to ensure that the case team is not tainted by access to privileged information. So Diddy's attorneys are alleging that they didn't follow the proper protocol and that they did take the notes through the filter team, but you'll see that they didn't really do the standard procedure that the filter team normally does, so they still receive privileged information. They then appended clearly privileged portions of the notes to their bail opposition to support continued detention, and it is impossible to know what else the government has done with the notes. Indeed, the prosecution has refused to disclaim using the notes to further its investigation going forward. So they're not even trying to hide it. They got the notes, kept it from the defense, and the first time the defense sees it, as they say, is when it's in its bond motion, and that's when they're alerted, and they don't even try to hide it. They're like, yeah, we got the notes because it's a part of the investigation, because they're trying to convince the judge and the world that they are using the notes, and the investigator only took the notes because it was a part of the witness tampering investigation, but we all know that's not true. His attorneys say this entire sequence of events, even based on the facts known to date, is shocking and outrageous government conduct. The government has intentionally violated Mr. Combs's attorney-client privilege and Sixth Amendment right to counsel by invading the defense camp and unjustifiably interfering with his relationship with counsel and his ability to defend himself. Mr. Combs cannot possibly receive a fair trial if he is not permitted to confer privately and confidentially with his counsel and others working at their direction, and to take and keep notes of his trial preparation. The search also violated the Fourth Amendment and Mr. Combs' Fifth Amendment due process rights. So the Fourth Amendment rights that they're alleging were violated deals with warrantless searches. So the state just can't come search whatever they want to search without a warrant unless there's an exclusion in the law. And his attorneys are saying by searching his cell and taking the notes, they violated his Fourth Amendment rights because they didn't have a warrant to do so, and his Fifth Amendment rights because they didn't do it by due process, which means they didn't do it the right way. So these are mistakes that you don't want to make as the government or the state in the case, because it leaves good defense attorneys room to make arguments to kind of mess up your case, because the notes did have juicy stuff on them, right? We're not able to see what the notes say because in Diddy's case, the judge has ordered that all the discovery be sealed. However, we can see them talk about different things in the letters and the motions. And so the notes were kind of like some info dirt on some of the witnesses so that they can have stuff to cross-examine the witnesses about. So that kind of information is what was collected, which is Diddy's defense, right? And so he is able, they're getting the jump on what he was going to argue at trial. And that's not fair. You can't do that. And so that is what his attorneys are arguing. And they also are talking about this CNN video. So let me talk about that here. So this is the same prosecution team that provided a doctored and misleading CNN videotape to 3 judges while withholding more accurate footage to keep Mr. Combs in jail. I don't know what his defense team is going to argue was doctored about that CNN release video that we saw of him. I mean, because what could have been changed about that scene? There was nothing right about it. Is he wanting to show the fact that Cassie returned? I mean, that did occur, and she talked about that in her lawsuit, that even after leaving, after getting beaten the way she did, an hour later, she did return out of fear. She says that she would be beaten again because that's what he does. That's what Diddy does. She had kind of like a battered woman syndrome. She fought to get away, but then she did later return. So I don't know if that's what he means by altered, that it doesn't show that portion. Like maybe if you know that she returned, you would feel differently. But her returning doesn't excuse him beating her in the hallway. Like, he's 100% guilty of that. And so this is why I say, though, you don't leave it open. I see someone in the chat saying Trump coming. He may pardon him if he gets found guilty. We never know. All right, so they talk about the CNN video that they say is doctored itself from agents who leak false and damaging statements to the press. This is the same prosecution team that has repeatedly alleged that a second woman was a sex trafficking victim without having even spoken to her. Yeah, that was a little shady, y'all. They did try to act like they had more victims in this case, and they kept calling her victim two, but come to find out they hadn't even spoken to her yet. And to this day, the indictment has not been amended to add any more charges. So as of now, Cassie is the only victim in the case. And like I say, we've all seen the tape, so we know he's guilty. Well, we know he committed the act, but you're not guilty if the state can't produce enough evidence in court to convince a jury that you are. And the way they can't is if evidence gets kicked out because they being shady, which is exactly what's happening here. And so this goes on to say that they are requesting a discovery and a hearing to determine the extent of the violations, to establish procedures to minimize prejudice going forward, and to ensure that Mr. Combs receives a fair trial. And this is what they're asking for, that the court should also order other necessary relief, including but not limited to suppression of the notes and any fruits of the illegal search, meaning if you read the notes and then you did some other evidence, you found some other evidence, or you took your investigation in a different way because you read something in the notes, that other evidence must be thrown out. But I will say that New York law, the law in most states will allow evidence to stay in if it was going to be independently discovered. So if it was going to be found out in a different way, then they can make an argument to keep it in. But basically they're saying anything that you got from the notes and any illegal searches that followed must be suppressed. They also want to have a special master appointed to review the evidence that's received instead of this whole filter team from the government. Basically, they don't trust the government anymore. And honestly, as a defense attorney, I don't either, because they lie a lot. I have a case pending right now where the officer is lying in the police report and the warrant, but that's what they do. And so because of that, and they don't trust them anymore, they want the judge to appoint a special master, and that person will review all the evidence that comes in before they turn it over to the state. They want to disqualify any and all prosecutors tainted by access to the privileged materials. This is giving Fonnie, right? This is giving DA Willis, because they're saying any prosecutor who reviewed the notes, participated in the bond motion that they appended the notes to, they want that prosecutor off the case. Now, it's the USA Attorney's Office, right? So they have tons of attorneys that could get onto the case that weren't already on it. But y'all remember the press conference in New York, the big deal they've been making about the case? Like, these prosecutors have been out on this case from the beginning. They're out for blood. So they don't want to be kicked off the case. They want to take this case to the end, but they're asking for, if the judge is not going to, whatever he decides, they want it suppressed, and they want those prosecutors kicked off the case. They want to order the government to stop monitoring Mr. Combs's communications with the defense team, and depending on the evidence adduced at the hearing, dismissal of the indictment. Buzzer, 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 buzzer. This is why I need my buzzer. Dismissal of the indictment is the last request. So depending on what evidence comes out at the hearing, they are asking the judge to consider, if it rises to that level, they are asking the judge to consider dismissing the indictment. Now, I don't know if it's going to rise to that level, but the fact that evidence could be suppressed, that could be used against Diddy, the fact that prosecutors could possibly be taken off of this case could be devastating to the case, right? Like, I don't even know why they would play games with this type of case. This is a case where you had your defendants, you had him. They got greedy. They wanted more charges. They wanted to, because remember at the press conference in New York when he first got arrested, they said, we still got a grand jury impaneled. And the grand jury, that is who the prosecutor presents the case to and asks them to return an indictment. So they're still impaneled. So they are looking for more charges to add against him. So they're still investigating. And so they were getting greedy. They wanted to add more charges. They wanted to bring the witness tampering charges. They wanted to find anything they could find. And they played and allowed this investigator to be dirty because nobody, I don't care. They're not going to be able to convince me that this is happen chance, that this investigator that was working with the USA's office the entire time, reviewing Diddy's phone calls and emails, just happens to be the investigator that goes to the prison and does the sweep, happens to be the investigator who finds the notes that and then turns them over to the prosecutor. Like, that's not happen chance at all. That is part of the plan, and I think is going to be a big issue for them. And we are going to go back to this motion so we can wrap this motion up, and then I just will briefly tell you kind of the state's reply, and then we'll go over what the judge issued today, which is 1 page. But that 1 page document could lead us to having a DA Willis prosecutorial misconduct hearing, and we're going to see. So it says, while Mr. Combs has been detained at the MDC, BOP staff, including Investigator 1, have consistently monitored his communications on monitored communication channels. Throughout these monitoring efforts, Investigator 1 was focused on Mr. Combs in an investigatory capacity as he was tasked with reviewing the defendant's calls and emails. So I'm like, that is what his job was to do. The government was particularly interested in Mr. Combs's communications as part of what it describes as continuing, ongoing, covert investigation into the defendant's obstructive conduct in the MDC. It therefore requested materials from Investigator 1, who turned them over, including Combs's calls and emails, in response to grand jury subpoenas and document requests. This talks about the raid on where the documents were found. We already talked about that. This just talks about how the government is trying to say like that it was just happen chance. And according to the government, following the MDC sweep, Investigator 1 alerted the prosecutors that he'd taken the photographs, described his contents, although they don't know what was said because they don't have that communication. And then the prosecutors asked him to give it to the filter team. It's not clear whether prosecutors subpoenaed the documents like they did the phone calls and emails, right? They just know the prosecutors ended up with the documents. So they didn't even do the proper subpoenas to get the notes and everything from the investigator. He just turned them over, which to me seems further evidence of him, this being pre-planned operation, not him just stumbling upon these notes during a separate job. Like, this sounds like it's all planned. And I think that is all that we're going to go over from that motion. So like, what are y'all thinking? Like, you hear this and it's like, I don't know, but that's why it's two sides to everything. So the state responded to this motion. Of course, the state they just try to basically explain that, oh, the investigator was just, there doing the raid. The raid was already planned. But in their response, they don't provide any evidence. They don't provide, you notice those document notes and numbers and stuff in the defense's motions. The state doesn't provide any evidence that what they're saying is true. They just say it. And that is what the defense replied to in their motion. I think it was like on the 30th. They're like, no, judge, they should be required to provide real proof and evidence that this wasn't the scheme all along, and that they should also be kicked off the case because they now reviewed his entire defense by seeing the notes. And so they should be off. Shout out to Demon D-Mom, I'm sorry. Let me open up my bigger screen. Because this laptop screen was little. Says, greetings from the Bay. I'm so sick of prosecutors in every state. If you're good at your job, you wouldn't need to cheat. Yes, that's so true. Just do your job. We've all seen the tape. You have him. You have enough evidence. There are enough lawsuits. There are enough other victims. There are enough people, real, true evidence that you could go research to try to find versus being sneaky and playing games. And yeah, it's like it could possibly mess up the case. You're absolutely right. Thank you so much for your $10 super chat. I greatly appreciate that. All the way from the Bay. Shout out. Hopefully, y'all are having better weather than we are having here. It is very cold here today. It is definitely hoodie and sweatshirt season. We're going to be really cold, I think, going into next week. I mean, it's January, so it's the winter time. So we're cold, but hopefully in the Bay Area, y'all are having better weather than we are. Mr. Big Play Bray says attorney for the Southern District of New York was replaced. Will that delay the case? Not at all. It's kind of like when you have a public defender's office, is the entire office is there the entire time. So while an attorney might not have been the lead on the case, they definitely will still have been involved. So it's fine that it won't slow anything down there at all. D-Mom says it's cold there and raining. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But I mean, I guess it's wintertime, so I guess it's cold everywhere. Under Oath says, Fit, why are they going so hard on all these Ricos? I know, right? I have no clue. I guess this seems to be the easier way for them to try to just loop a whole bunch of stuff into one, especially now that we're talking about like real Ricos, right? Not YSL broke people Rico, right? Where there was no money. But Diddy got money, right? And so maybe that is the charge that fits what the allegations are. But it is strange how everybody's getting hit with a Rico. Like even civil Ricos are picking up these days. I know Floyd Mayweather is dealing with a civil Rico himself right now. So yeah, I'm not sure why Ricos are off the chain right now, but they are. Everyone's using them. Someone's Katie says we got snow and ice last night in Indiana. I had to drive to work this morning. I was praying the whole way. Oh, so sorry to hear that. I'm glad you made it safely. Yeah, we don't get a lot of snow in Atlanta. I think they're predicting we may get some this winter. I will be excited if we do, because we do not get a lot of snow here. So it'll be fun if we do. That would be fun. Let's get the likes up. We got 124 in the chat. So let's get the likes up, y'all. Let's get the likes up. All right. So the state, like I said, the state filed their response. We're not going to go through all of that, but they basically just try to counter and basically just explain away everything that the defense was arguing. The defense then responded demanding a hearing and asking the judge to require the prosecutors to get an affidavit. So, the motion I just read, that's typed up by Diddy's attorneys and filed in court. There is not anything at the end of that where, as an attorney, I have to swear that what I'm saying is the truth. There, you are supposed to present a duty of candor to the court. So I'm not supposed to lie in documents. So the assumption is going to be that I'm telling the truth, right? But watching a YSL trial, not everyone takes their duty of candor seriously. So the defense was asking the judge to make them actually swear under oath that what they're saying is true. Make the investigator swear under oath. Make them provide some affidavits. Make them provide some proof that what they're saying is true, because from the outside looking in, it looks shady as hell. It looks shady as hell that the same investigator that has already been recording his phone calls and emails just happens to be the same investigator that is participating in the sweep and takes photos of legal pads out of Diddy's locker during the sweep and interviewed him. I don't even know what the reason for him being interviewed was. And if he was interviewed, why wasn't his attorneys present? That seems shady. And then you turn that over to the prosecutors without a subpoena, without a warrant request. So you just gave it over, and they used it against, it didn't notify the defense. Like, it just feels so wrong. So what happened today? Because I was wondering, like, what is the judge going to do? Because as I explained, and I don't know if I talked to, no, this might have been when I thought I was on live, but I wasn't. And I was explaining the difference. So in state court, like you all see in the YSL trial, there are a lot of motions filed and then motion hearings, right? But in the federal court, they send letters to the judge and they'll ask permission to be able to have a hearing, or they'll ask permission, they'll put notice that we want to file a motion, and then they file that motion. But it's just letters to the judge. It's not always a hearing unless the judge actually grants that. So in this case, the defense filed their motion, the state responded, the defense responded to that, and then today the judge issued an order requiring something to happen, and then that is due by January 17th. So let me pull this up because I think this is going to lead to some information that is not going to be good for the government. And it's just one page, so it's not going to take us long to check that out. Pull this over. When I saw it, I was like, okay, Diddy, might be getting close to some tea. All right, trying to slide this to my other screen. Y'all struggle streaming, but it's coming. It's coming. Just give me 1 second. Get over here. Okay, get over here. Okay, when I get the studio set up, I'm not going to have to go through all of this because I'm going to have my 3 monitors and everything's going to work super fast. I'm not going to be on Wi-Fi. Okay. And I am trying to get this document to go over there. Why is it? Okay, there we go. All right. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. Let me make this as big as I can. All right. So today, and now, like, it wasn't a hearing to get this. So I was trying to like Google and find an article that was talking about it, but I couldn't because it's just the order. The judge just put the order out there. And I just happened to be nosy. And so I logged in and found it. Wait a minute. Here comes, Mixed Chick says, at Fit Lawyer ATL, what is going on with them trying to serve Diddy, but he won't come out to sell? I'm confused with people saying that. You know what? I haven't heard. It would only have to be for something civil because you don't serve the defendant with anything criminal related. So it would have to be another lawsuit or something. And maybe he is just not coming out to accept service, because when defendants are in custody and you file a lawsuit against them, you have to serve them with that lawsuit, and it has to be served to them personally. And so they'll do that in jail. A lot of times you'll see it when clients are arrested for like domestic cases and for battery or like aggravated assault or something, some fight with like your girlfriend or something. And then the person, once you're arrested, they file a TPO against you. They will serve you in custody with the temporary restraining order so you can participate in that proceeding. So, but he does have to accept it. So I guess he's like, no more lawsuits. Y'all, Diddy got so many lawsuits. When you go to the federal site and type in his name, it's like 18 different lines. It's so many lawsuits that are pending. We're not even talking about a piece of the lawsuit. So it's something civil related they're trying to serve him with. Nothing related to the criminal case. That doesn't happen. So this is the order from the judge. And so the judge says, Combs moved for a hearing. Oh, you know what? Let me put my highlighter on. Is that going to work? Look. Okay, so Combs up. Okay. Trying to do something too fancy. Let me just point. Okay, so Combs moved for a hearing and other relief related a search of his possessions during a BOP sweep of the MDC alleging 4th and 6th Amendment violations. The 6th Amendment violation was the right to his attorney, so attorney-client privilege. Basically, his attorneys are alleging that the notes contain work product, which is attorney-client, like you're prepping for the trial, and basically notes about communications between him and his attorney. So that is the 6th Amendment violation. The government responded that the search was conducted pursuant to legitimate BOP objectives and that the investigator operated separately from the prosecution team. That's what the government said. In evaluating Combs's motion, the court would find the following additional materials helpful: an affidavit from the prosecution team stating its understanding of the chain of events leading up to, during, and following the MDC sweep, including Investigator One's role, and an affidavit from Investigator One describing his role, the circumstances under which he participated in the MDC sweep, and the extent of his communications with the prosecution team, including any communications in advance of the MDC sweep or about the MDC sweep. These affidavits should be furnished to the court by January 17th. And as we discussed, let me finish reading. By the same deadline, the prosecution team should produce its written communications with Investigator One, if any, for the court's in-camera review. So we about to get the tea by January 17th. So what this document says, remember I told you how the motions that we file is just signed at the end by the attorney. It doesn't have to be, it's not like an under oath thing. But this is saying that the attorneys have to now file something under oath talking about what led up to, during, and following the MDC sweep. This starting to feel like the Fonnie Willis case, because now the prosecutors got to go under oath. And I don't know if whatever prosecutor actually signs that affidavit, in my eyes, I think that person would then become a witness, right? And so I don't know if they'll have to no longer be a prosecutor once they submit this affidavit, because if you submit a sworn affidavit to the court, then you have to be able to be called to the stand to testify. And I don't know how you could remain a prosecutor and submit this affidavit to the judge about what happened. Also, it is going to lock the prosecutors into what they are going to say happened. So you're no longer in a motion. It's no longer an argument. They're basically saying, prosecutor, come into court, swear under oath what happened leading up to, during the sweep, and after. Like, that is serious as an attorney for the judge to order you to make an affidavit before the court. Because if you're lying, whatever you say, that is what you're going to be held to. And so that'll be interesting. And also, we finally get an affidavit from Investigator One. And so Investigator One is going to have to also swear under oath. And see, shit changes when people got to swear under oath. Y'all see it every day. When the police are called, when police come to the scene, when witnesses give statements, when witnesses are interrogated, YSL, and then when witnesses have to actually come into court and testify on the stand, shit changes. It's different. It's one thing just to say shit, right? It's one thing just to make a statement and say, oh yeah, judge, no, that was already planned. Like, we were already going to search the prison before Diddy got locked up. And I was already on that team. And I just happened to be assigned to his, it's one thing to type it in a document, but now to raise your hand and swear under oath that this is what happened, shit different. It hits different. So we finally are going to get Investigator One under record. And I think the biggest part that I can't wait to see are what are the written communications, because y'all already know that they put an email or text something to tell this investigator that, hey, even if the raid was pre-planned, they would have told the investigator, go to the prison along with this raid, act like you're a part of the raid, and go to Diddy's cell. Like, what do y'all think? Tell me what you think. Is there a way? Mr. Big Play Bray says, is there a way for Diddy's lawyer to prove that they're lying? Well, right now we haven't. This is going to be the way. So because you can't go back and change emails, and they can't sit there and act like, oh, judge, we don't have any emails about it. We didn't talk about it, because they already said they talked about it. They said that there was communication between the filter team. So now this is kind of like that phone dump where we get to see what the text messages were. Now they're being required to turn over this communication. and they're going to turn it all over to the judge. And the judge is going to view the communication in camera, which means in private, in his office. And he's going to review it first to see what it shows. If it doesn't show anything, we're not going to see it. But if it shows something, which I believe it will, then it's going to be released to the defense. And then it's going to be allowed to be argued in the motion that the judge will grant. Like the fact that the judge, after the back and forth of the government and the defense, then said, you know what? I need some more information to consider Diddy's thing. Matter of fact, y'all put it in writing, put it under oath what occurred before, during, and after this sweep. Talk about the investigator's role, make him put it under oath, and then we can go from there. Love it. Like this is going, January 17th is going to show us what is going on with them. Like what did they do? Like if anything comes out of that communication on the 17th, anything the judge gets any inkling, he's going to grant a hearing and possibly, well, we won't be at a mistrial, Arbel, not yet because the trial hasn't started, but we will be at we could possibly be at a dismissal of the indictment or a disqualification of the prosecutors. And I believe that either would be a hit to the prosecution because you don't want to lose anybody that's been on this case the whole time. And you don't want to lose any evidence that you can use against Diddy because you pretty much, you got him. Oh, there we go with the double. Okay, so I can't do that. Okay. All right. So, but you know what I'm saying? So, no, it's not going to be a mistrial yet, but definitely it seems. Trust she going to be ready. Oh, I guess she must be responding to something else. Okay. Well, not that he didn't get the paperwork, but he has to. You're right. He can't say he didn't get the paperwork if he's in the cell, but that is what that's about. So I'm not sure. I have to go look and see about him not coming out. But like I say, that's going to be a civil issue and not a criminal issue. So I cannot wait. This trial will be starting up in May, and I cannot wait. Now it's a federal trial, so they're not going to have any cameras, but you can go in person. So it's not going to be any cameras allowed because it's federal, but you can go in person. And so that's why we got all these sketches of Diddy. I think there was like some leaked footage or something from court, but it's no cameras allowed inside, like no cell phones or anything like that. So we just have to wait till things are reported back or tune into the Fit Lawyer ATL because I'm always looking at the court docket to see what is dropped, and I'll bring it to you all when it comes down. So that's where we at for now. So January 17th, y'all, it's by that date. So I don't know if anything will actually happen on that date, but somewhere around that date, the government will have turned over their affidavit and Investigator One's affidavit. And the judge will consider at that point whether or not he's going to have a hearing. I don't think, and he could absolutely not even require a hearing. He could, after receiving the affidavits and the private communication, he can decide at that point to just grant one of the requests by the defense, which the requests were to suppress the evidence and anything that came from it, to appoint a special master to review the privileged communication from the notes outside of this filter team, basically get rid of this filter team, hire an outside agency person to review things that have to go through the filter team, because no, like, this case isn't over, right? They have just literally given Diddy his laptop at the jail so that he can review discovery. So he just got that laptop end of December, I think, like maybe that last week of December. So he's just now starting to go through discovery. So we got 5 months of motions that could occur, status conferences, things like that. So we got a while to go on this. So we're gonna see. Let's see what the chat is talking about. I'm gonna let me see. How do I put a poll up? Oh, I gotta do that in YouTube, don't I? That might be too advanced for this first live of 25. I don't know. Let me try. I might try to do that while on my phone while I'm asking this. So what are y'all thinking? Like, let me know in the chat. Are you thinking this may be Diddy's needle in a haystack, or What you think? Inner Beauty 2024 says they're going to blow this case acting like this. Exactly, right? They don't need to be like this. You don't need to be overzealous. You don't need to be tricky and sneaky because you have everything you need already. We already saw the Cassie tape. You have enough evidence. Don't try to get too fancy with it and make it worse than what it is. Your fit photographer says, do you think this trial will last as long as the wise trial? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's supposed to start in May. I don't know how long, but what we talking, maybe 3 months, if that long, 4 months. The federal government is way more efficient than the Fulton County DA's office, and they would never have tried to I think, a 28 defendant RICO case with such weak evidence. The fact that you have most people at home now on probation shows just how weak that was. So I don't. It's a different ball game when it comes to the federal government. Trikisha S. McNeil says, wow, this is messy. It is getting messy because I'm like, so what happened next? Because clearly we have someone who we all presume is guilty. And then the government starts messing up, and he has good attorneys. And so when the government starts messing up, that's your needle in a haystack. I promise you, as a defense attorney, that's the first thing I'm trying to do is just give me a chance. I know what you're charged with, but let me just look at the evidence, because I was watching the YSL trial at the beginning before jury selection started, back when they were doing bond hearings and motions, and Thug had a bond hearing that had a little 12, a boy that had been mentoring since 12 come in and testify. And y'all, the stuff the state stood up and presented, I used to tell people Thug is never coming home. I was like, if they have the evidence to go with what they're saying, he's never coming home. And look at that. They couldn't do it. They couldn't put it out. They said they had it, and that is the reason Diddy's attorneys are like, no, judge, don't let them just say something because it doesn't mean it's true. Require them to put it under oath, and that is what the judge is doing. He's making the prosecutors a sworn affidavit, and he is demanding a sworn affidavit from Investigator 1, and describing his role, his circumstances, and he wants all the communication about this MDC sweep and the communication between Investigator 1 turned over to him. So I think this is going to reveal some dirty, dirty, dirty stuff, because there is absolutely no way all of that is a coincidence at all. There is no way that the same investigator that was listening to the phone calls and the emails happens to go to the MDC sweep, happens to go into Diddy's cell, happens to see the legal pass. They're not contraband, so I'm leaving them, but oh, let me snap a pic on the way out. Shady, shady, shady. Oh, thank you. Here comes drama. She says Fit has the best curls. Girl, pin curl. Literally, I cannot use a flat iron to curl nothing. So these are straight pin curls every night, and take them down in the morning and go. So it's all about the pin curls. So thank you so much, sis. Yeah, Yuri Brown says, I heard he had a meltdown on Christmas. Wonder if it was true. I wouldn't be surprised, y'all. It's hard being locked up. I never want to be locked up. It is very hard to, I couldn't imagine sitting in a cell. Can you imagine, like, this is somebody who was almost a billionaire months ago, who was living a life of luxury, traveling on yachts for Christmas. That is the problem. That is the first Christmas in his life he's ever spent in prison, locked up, unable to see his family. He has a baby girl. Like, he still is a human, not in the sense of Tiffany is sympathetic and I feel bad for him. I'm saying, yes, he still has emotions. So if they're saying that, and I'm not surprised. It would be a very hard time, because normally he'd probably be on the south of France on his yacht for Christmas, and now he's shit and got real. Shit then got real. And the fact that his bond has been denied for 3 times in a row, it would make you feel like I may possibly never get out. Like, that's a realization that he has to come to. He may possibly never get out. Teo A says they would need Judge Joe Brown. 9 Woody-ish witnesses, 3 Vivaritos, and the entire YSL defense team to have a winning chance. I love it. I love it. That is hilarious. a minute. Here comes drama says, and a partridge in a pear tree. I love it. But yes, he said 3 Viveritos, Judge Joe Brown, 9 witty witnesses. That is hilarious. Yes, but it's just shady. It's like, but why even open that door up? Why even play those kind of shady games when you don't have to? Why? Happy New Year to you as well, Peach. Just me. Good to see you here. Thank you for joining. Mixed Chick says Judge Joe Brown snapping on Young Thug too, right? Okay. A hot mess. Try to go back through the chat and see what questions I missed. Yuri Brown says, with all the bias against Puffy, does this matter? Yes, he beat Cassie and he beat other women, and he should do time for that. But Little Rod and many others are lying. Interesting. Okay, so Little Rod, like I've heard his lawsuit. I haven't read it for myself, but you feel Little Rod is lying. That's interesting. What the part that stuck out to me, because I don't, we'll never know if Diddy actually touched Lil Rod's butt in the bathroom and all that kind of stuff, right? But the part to me was the shooting that Little Rod talked about, and how he says it occurred and how the police reports were changed. Like those type of things stick out to me to show the power that Diddy has, like the power and control and the money that this man has. So yes, somebody like that is now sitting in a cell for Christmas. Yeah, I'm surprised he's not on suicide watch, honestly. Because it's such a stark difference from his life. It's not like this a D-boy from the block that's been locked up 25 times. I don't know if Diddy's ever been to jail. I mean, for real. Like not, oh, he got locked up or investigated in the Shine thing and then put it on him and he's the one that went to jail. Like, this is new. This would shake anybody that used to be a billionaire and now he's locked up. And he's locked up in a for real jail. Like he's not chilling in some Fed jail playing games on the daytime and ordering food and stuff like that. No, he's at a real deal prison where they're doing searches and stuff and raids and stuff. So this is a big shakeup, a big change. So I'm not surprised. Arbell says Joe Brown is a bitter baby mama. That's funny. Joe Brown does seem real grumpy sometimes. Yeah, Mixed Chick says there's no way Diddy isn't going through withdrawal if he was doing all them drugs. Well, he's been locked up for a while now, so I've never been a drug addict to have to go through withdrawals. So I don't know how long it takes, but I would think because he's been locked up. When did he get locked up? Like March. So he's been locked up now about 9 months. So I would think at this point now he's probably going through more so the withdrawals from just his life, his family, the lapse of luxury that he is no longer having access to, right? No more just coming and going in your 30-bedroom mansion and having white parties and all of that stuff. Like, and he may never get back to that again. So I don't know. So we're going to keep our eyes on this case for 2025. I hope you all stay tuned. Oh yeah, like Katie says, the extracurricular should be out of his system by now. I would think so. That it is. Here comes drama says time is flying. I know, right? Because he was still just asking for bond in November. It seems like he just got in custody. No, but he's just been begging to get out since he got locked up. And it really is just shows you how bad they want him, right? Because his attorneys were working with the federal government from the time they did the raid, which was the year prior to that. And now for him to go to New York and them arrest him off the street, he not get a bond. Like, I can't believe it. Like, everybody took a fall. A lot of people took a fall. Yes, lifestyle definitely caught up with him. And it's just, it's a miss. Okay, I'm sorry. Brenda Bear. I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood. Ava missed it. Oh, I don't know what that question is referring to. Your fit photographer says, shout out to the mods in the chat. I think he was locked up in 99, but I think he was held with Jennifer or something. Yeah, maybe over there shooting just a quick holding, but not no, you know what? I was surprised when I started looking that he gave up on bond, but then I thought maybe he wants to focus on this issue and just focus on this. And then if this doesn't get him some type of relief, then maybe he'll go back to the bond. Because you got to realize at some point, like, nothing's going to change with the bond. That's how it is too for defendants that I represent. Sometimes you're charged with a crime, and the first judge will deny bond and say you're a danger to the community or something like that. And when you go for a second bond hearing, is if you don't have evidence to make the judge change their mind about that judgment, then it's going to be denied again and then denied again. And so, like, what's going to change? But so it's one or two things. Either he gave up asking for right now because seems to be no conditions that this judge will consider, or he is choosing to focus his efforts on this argument, which may be a really good one if evidence comes out, because the judge is not shutting it down. He is asking for the prosecutors to file an affidavit, have the investigator file an affidavit, and turn over all communication. So it's been investigated. So this may lead to something. So maybe it's like, let me pause on the bond motion. Let me just focus on my best argument. That's what you have to do sometimes as a defense attorney. You got to put your best argument forward. So that may be possibly what the focus is right now. Is like, let me put my best argument. Under Oath says, it fit. And shout out to a member in the chat. Where do you think they're gonna go with the 1K bottles of baby oil? It'll be evidence in the case of his freak offs, and so allegedly the baby oil contains drugs to drug people, and they would squirt it into alcohol. I've heard that, because once again, all of that is speculation, because the discovery that's been recently turned over, all of that stuff is sealed. So while it was spoken of in a press conference, we won't really get to know what it really is about until trial starts. But allegations and words on the street are that the baby oil contained some type of drugs, and they would squirt it into liquor or onto people, your skin or something, to intoxicate you and take advantage, allegedly. So if that is true, then we'll hear about it during the trial. It'll come up as being evidence of the freak offs and how they would drug people to participate, or how he would. And I mean, others were involved as well. But I was still amazed that even at the time he was arrested, which was this year, which was after the raid, after the Cassie lawsuit, that you still had bottles of baby oil. Like, so the lawsuit comes out, you drop 30 million per se, but I think it was more probably like 100 million at that point, because the price always goes up after the lawsuit is filed. And fast forward to like March, when the home is raided, you still got baby oil. I don't understand. Like, so you just still, you didn't stop? You still had baby oil? That is so wild to me, allegedly. So we're just gonna have to see what comes out at trial. So that is so crazy. Somebody said if that's true, he's cooked. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that they have, which is why I don't understand why you would try to play dirty, because you got everything you need. Let's see. Will the trial be televised? It will not, because it's federal court, so they won't allow cameras in. Zanaya Pruitt, no cameras in. So unfortunately, it's not going to be on trial. It's not going to be on TV. Jay Sim says, don't know about guilt or innocence, but the whole case is off Cassie. There's no freak offs. It's him and Cassie and what they did as a couple. Most, if not all, these stories stem from L and C. And I don't know if I don't know that there's not any freak offs, right? Because we've heard other stories from people who participated in the freak offs, hired sex workers, and Cassie's friend that actually got a payoff from Diddy over an incident that was spoken about in the lawsuit, and how these sexual escapades sometimes will be forced upon her and not willingly participated in. And so while they may have been a couple, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything that occurred during that relationship was willingly, right? So I don't know. Like, I don't know that it's not a freak off. Now, you're right that it is just Cassie. And I was disappointed to learn that. I thought the prosecutors kind of put some extra on the press conference to make it seem like they had all of these victims and it was going to be additional charges. And then come to find out that it is just Diddy and Cassie. And it's kind of like we already heard about that in the lawsuit, right? And it's not, doesn't change that it's criminal and that he needs to be punished for what he did. But I was expecting more. All right. Diddy like it slippery. Y'all are so crazy. Diddy is a mess. Oh yeah, the making of Mixed Chick says Diddy, the making of a Bad Boy official trailer, Peacock original, is supposed to be with ex co-workers and others when it is released. I wonder what will be said. Yeah, I saw that preview for. I didn't see the preview. I saw like the headlines. So I had to go back and check it out. But should be interesting because you really haven't heard a lot of people make public statements in defense. So it's kind of like all we keep hearing is confirmation stories coming out. So that should be interesting. Trakisha McNeil says, I think people are afraid. I think people probably were afraid, but I think people now feel empowered. One, he's locked up. Second, is power in numbers. And so with multiple people coming out and multiple people speaking about the case and what has occurred to them and a lot of stories lining up, I think people have more confidence now. So that's why I think we're seeing like more reports of things. So I think people are feeling empowered now to actually say something. Yuri Brown says Little Rod identified Steve-O as participating in a porn with Puffy and the celebrity was in the porn. Said it was a lie. It was him. They have found lies, and Little Rod's lawyer has been accused of improprieties. Okay, but the incident, the shooting at the studio, though, that is going to be something that's police report or track. So I wonder, will some of the claims, stay or go? But Diddy is fighting a lot of stuff right now. But however, when you have a criminal case going on, that stays your civil cases. So the civil cases will pin for right now. So they'll come, they'll serve him. But once his attorney's filing it, it'll just stay until the criminal case is over because he can't participate in the civil cases while the criminal case is pending because the criminal case is life or death. So I can't participate in a civil case where I'm required to respond with discovery to you and at the same time defend myself in criminal allegations when I might have to give you something in the civil suit that can be used against me in the criminal case. It doesn't make any sense. So the civil cases stay while the criminal case is pending, which is why in the lawsuit with Jay-Z and Diddy, everything is moving with Jay-Z and nothing's going on with Diddy's side because his his criminal case is pending. Danny says, I 100% do not believe everything Diddy is accused of. Some things, sure. Even with the Cassie video, no one knows the truth at this point. We've seen a snippet, but don't know what happened before. We don't, outside of what Cassie said occurred in her lawsuit, but we weren't there, so we don't know. We just know that he paid money less than 24 hours after it was served, and, we never know, and time is going to tell. May 5th is supposed to be the day that everything starts, so we're going to see. Right. Well, Cassie is the only victim named in a lawsuit, but there are allegations that other people were brought into their sexual escapades that were out of state, some that were in state, some sex workers. And so that she was drugged, forced to have sex with those people. So those kind of things are things that will go into the criminal enterprise RICO allegations, and how he would tape people participating willingly in sexual escapades, but not necessarily things they want people to know about. And then they would basically hold those videos over people's heads to get them to participate further or in other ways in illegal things. So basically he was blackmailing people by catching them on tape when they were coming to these parties, which is why I'm looking sideways at everybody that's been to a Diddy party these days, including all these pastors. Okay, because it's like what you was doing there. Like, now that we know what was going on at these parties, I'm like, I don't know if I'm cool with my pastor coming to these parties. Oh, pills, potions, and poison. Cinco de Mayo. Yes, that's when trials start. Isn't that funny, right? Yes, good to see you. Happy New Year, sis. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us here. He tied. Right. That's what Diddy is. Nene says, shout out to a new member who was gifted a membership tonight. Nene says, he tired, boss, of being served. I ain't coming out to sell. I know. Diddy like, hey, shit, send that shit to my lawyers. I'm tired. He ain't even take no more legal civil lawsuits because nothing's gonna happen to him right now. Diddy's over it because selling that Cassie lawsuit in 24 hours brought everyone out the woodwork. Like everybody started suing. Everybody, even Jane Doe from Texas. That case is a whole. We'll get into that on the update on the JC stream because he's being allowed to file his motion to dismiss. So that should be interesting. Danny says, I'm trying to think if I flew a female out, is that sex trafficking? Allegedly. LOL. Danny, what you got going on? Don't be flying them out. Well, fly them out and get them to sign a contract, sign a participation, a permission slip that they are there willingly, and you're not slipping nothing in the baby oil trying to get them to participate in the freak off. So then you'll be fine. Yes, isn't that crazy? Katie says freak off on a Saturday, then preaching a sermon on a Sunday is wild. And if I don't know if any of you all, how many of y'all from Atlanta, but there was a case here with Bishop Eddie Long, rest in peace. And there were allegations that things would occur before the sermon. Yeah, so look, not judging. Here comes Drama says, this is not legal advice. Exactly. I am not your lawyer. This is not legal advice, just legal commentary. Right. Katie says, type you up a consent form, Danny. Make sure you get the consent form signed. Let's see. Yes, pills, potions, and poison. That Eddie Long story was messy. Boy, that thing was messy. And if y'all think, I just wish cameras had no, because there was a private mediation, although the deputies was all back there telling the tea and everything that happened in that mediation. But that thing was messy and it never stopped. Like, it never stopped. Stories for days. Yes, Shakisha says, wow, Eddie, a blast from the past. 2025 is going to be lit. House of Brands Design Agency. Hello, sis. Yes, it's going to be lit. There are going to be a lot of trials popping off. We got Dirt coming up. Meg and Tori going back and forth over a restraining order. It's just a lot going on. So I will be alive a lot more. Shout out to all the members. I'm going to drop a video on members only after we finish this live to show you all the studio and how it's developing. So become a member if you want to see that. If not, you got to wait till I go live from the studio. It will happen this month. So thank you so much for tuning in. January 17th is the deadline for the government to turn over these affidavits and communications. I will keep my eye out for any other orders that come through so I can update you all on it. I hope you all have a blessed night and a great weekend. This is not legal advice. I am not your attorney. This is just legal commentary. I hope you all have had a great evening tonight, and I'll see you in court.